Now, in all honesty, when it comes to Fox animation, I'm pretty much the Grim Reaper. If it was a person, it would probably be James Corden running away from me as I am salad and human decency. No, the leafy greens, I cannot possibly handle that. Being nice to a waiter. Oh no, I can't even think about that. It's preposterous. Is it too late now to say sorry? As he starts singing every single Justin Bieber song, hoping that Justin Bieber will just come down from the heavens in a Kia and just land and just, Justin, it's okay, let's do one last round of carpool karaoke. I won't let salad and human decency get you. That's basically my relationship with Fox animated shows. Their shows are usually a hit or miss. Some shows are actually pretty decent and it can be really funny, and other shows are pretty much just slop, you know, bottom of the barrel stuff you would feed to a really fat, overweight pig who just wants nothing but oats, but you just decide to throw in DVDs of Fox animated shows. That's pretty much how it goes. And, I decided to take a look at the show Grimsburg, which I had never heard of before this video, which is pretty much sums up every single show I've ever heard of from Fox, other than like Family Guy and The Simpsons and Futurama. They're just always an enigma, something you never really hear about, something you never see, and then when you finally put your eyes on it, you're like, oh, wow, it's like their other 25 animated shows, except in a different setting. But this one was okay for the most part. The first episode that I took a look at was the episode The Flute Show, and it really didn't do a whole lot in terms of entertainment value, but I thought it was decent enough to sit down and watch a 20-minute episode. If it was on, I really wouldn't complain. The episode opens with this character named Flute hunting down a serial killer called the Boner. And you might be thinking, what is the Boner gonna do around this town? It kind of sounds like a serial killer that would, like, I don't know, seduce really old women and then give them the what for with his, you know, skin flute, and they would pass away because they're like in their 90s. But no, it's just a man who likes to bone people. Not in a sensual kind of way, but in the way in which he sticks bones into people. And that's how he kills people. So Flute is hot on the trail, and at the same time, there's a director who's making a show about Flute as he is solving this case. So you got two things going on. You got the real Flute and the show version of Flute. And immediately, my biggest problem with the show is, once again, the animation. I just think it looks so bad, especially characters like Flute, where they have this elongated limbs, like they're just a tormenting character. I don't know why you had to make him look so unbelievably grotesque. There's no reason that his hands should go all the way down to his knees. Like, you give him a pot belly, which already doesn't scream, oh, look at this beautiful man, but then you give him the legs of a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal, and I'm just not really into it. I don't like watching his hands stretch all the way down there. It's like a character from No, I Am Not a Human, that weird game where every single creature is just from the bottom of the abyss, and I don't like it. I don't like the way things look in this show, but it's just kind of weird. So we get to see some of the stuff on set, like one of the characters is a corpse wrangler, and they just throw out corpses for them to get wrangled, which was kind of weird. We then meet Stan, who is Flute's son, who seems to have some hallucinogenic problems. He likes to hallucinate a lot, and he has this friend who's a skeleton. And it's kind of clear that it's a medical problem, because Stan, he's kind of upset that his dad isn't spending any time with him, so his little, I don't know, hallucinogenic friend starts saying, oh, we should go to the bathroom and do a little bit of a fecal graffiti.
Maybe we could do a little fecal graffiti. It's a beautiful day in the park. We can do it all.
And I don't like the sounds of that one bit. I can't imagine, you know, just scooping my poo out of the toilet and just going to town with some artwork, which is a real thing, by the way. That happened in my elementary school, where one day, all the counselors just brought us into the gymnasium, every single boy, not a girl in sight, and was like, which one of you was flinging your poo like a goddamn dirty ape? And everyone just looks around in shock, but yes, it genuinely happened. In our boys' bathroom, somebody just was throwing it around like a monkey when he just has a hot, steamy pile in his hand, just throwing it everywhere, smearing it everywhere, and why would you even want to do that? I don't understand, but maybe it's because he had a skeleton friend talking to him and asking if he wanted to do some fecal graffiti. So that was pretty interesting to say the least. So Flute is trying to solve this crime, and he eventually has like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. I don't know, Flute kind of reminds me if he was Jimmy Neutron but took a bunch of Fent, so everything is just a lot more demented instead of just Jimmy seeing a toaster and a piece of toast. Oh god, I can make a cooked piece of toast. Yes, oh my god. You know, that's the type of stuff that Jimmy be thinking of, or sodium chloride. But Flute, he has his own way of thinking, his own way of going about things. He starts having a brain blast, he goes deep into his mind, and all of a sudden it's Bugs Bunny being like, what's up, Doc? You know, I'm really scared of domestic violence. And then Flute just grabs a bone out of his chest and rips it out, so Bugs Bunny is dead.
Nah, I don't know what you're. That's all, folks.
Which, again, was something that I was not expecting to see upon my viewing of this show. I didn't think my childhood hero who told me how to address a doctor would pass away in such violent ways. So he murders Bugs Bunny, and then he goes and he finds the bunny who likes tricks are for kids, and he also attacks him. And I don't know, something about the Trix rabbit here just made me feel scared in a way. I feel like if there was any cartoon character who would be on Epstein's Island, it would probably be the Tricks are for kids rabbit, because at a certain point with every single commercial, you need to understand that this man doesn't want the Fent cereal. He clearly just wants them kids to keep coming after him, because I never even get to see this guy have a nice juicy taste of it. He is just constantly getting, thwarted by these kids, and he still keeps on doing it without ever getting a lick. Is so much a sniff of that cereal. I think he just likes the children. So, safe to say, the Tricks Are for Kids rabbit is definitely in the Epstein files. I feel like that's a very important piece of information that isn't talked about enough. So, he talks to the Tricks Are for Kids rabbit, and then eventually he leaves his demented, hallucinogenic nightmare of brain blasting, and he now has a place to go and look, and he's going to go and try and find out what they do with people who taxidermy animals, because clearly the boner who uses bones has got to be taxiderming animals. Oh yes, because violating a bunch of cartoon characters clearly means that the taxidermy guy is the one who did it. I don't know. That was kind of weird. So Stan, he eventually finds the guy who is playing Flute on the show and starts having father-son fun with that guy, and they eventually go on a boat together and they're having just a dandy old time, and he's explaining to him the birds and the bees, and Stan looks him dead in the eye and he's like, really, I thought the nipples would play a much bigger role in this. And when it comes to lactation, they sure do, but no, Stanny boy. The nipples are just there to... I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know why they put so much emphasis on it. It's really not that entertaining. It's just random stuff. Like, the entire joke of that scene was the fact that Stan didn't understand the importance of nipples, and there's just nothing really else to it. But that took up 2 minutes of the episode, so that's kind of giving you a full picture into what this show is like. So, we then have Flute trying to solve this. The bone taxidermy guy runs away, gets away, and so he has to try to make up with his wife, which again didn't really make so much sense. And then he eventually finds out that the director must have been the one who killed all these people, and he fights the director and beats the director and arrests him, and that's pretty much the episode. He boned him. He boned him really good. Took him to Bone Town. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I left out in this episode, and I feel like that's the main reason this is one of the lowest rated episodes in the series. I always like to start off with the worst episode, so that I could work my way up to something better to try to get the bad stuff out of the way, and this episode was all over the place. There was a lot of stuff that I left out in my description, like there's this one character named Rufus, and he finds a taquito, and he's all like, oh, a taquito, this is exactly what I needed. And then he gets in like a fight with a woman over the taquito, and then I think he murders his mom. I don't know, it was kind of unclear, but it was ultimately worthless in terms of telling a good story. So yeah, kind of all over the place. Definitely not the best use of my time to watch this. I probably wouldn't want to watch this episode ever again. So if I was to rate this one 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid, I don't know, like a 5 out of 10. It doesn't do anything bad that makes it not enjoyable, but it also doesn't do anything great to make me want to ever watch it again. So it's just kind of an average episode of television, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Now taking a look at one of the best episodes of Grimsburg, or at least the highest rated, it's going to be the episode Camp Slasher. And compared to the worst episode, this episode was definitely a lot better. It had a lot more going for it. The beginning of the episode is just typical, like, Jason shenanigans being at a camp and young people getting murdered after being like, "Ooh, you don't even know what virginity is. Oh, mind if I take it? Pop the cherry."
Every summer for the rest of our definitely long lives.
And then they just get brutally assaulted by Jason and just get attacked by him. We get thrilling things like, "Sounds like you're getting hacked to pieces out here." And then he also gets hacked to pieces. It's a pretty entertaining opening. Nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned slasher film to get me invested in the episode. But this made me think, you know, why is Jason doing this? Why is he attacking all of these couples? Obviously, this isn't canonical Jason. It can't be because of the love of his mother or the fact that he was drowned. It can't be because of that. It can't be because he died because of, you know, teenagers boning instead of taking care of the youngins. It's clearly because Jason himself is feeling left out and needs a good old rousing round of Bone Town. I don't know why nobody's made like a buddy comedy in which Jason is like a, I don't know, 60-year-old virgin at this point. You could make it a continuation and have Steve Carell like on stilts play Jason. And then they just got to take him around as he's, you know, like, "You look so good." As he's like trying to get a date and trying to get rid of his grotesque lake-ridden balls not being drained or something. I don't know. I think I'm pitching the good stuff here. That probably already exists somewhere. I don't really care. But now I want a buddy comedy in which Jason has to get laid. And I don't know why I have not seen such a thing in my life yet. Either way, that's what happens. And then we see that Stan, Flute and Harmony's kid, he is proposing his ultimate summer extravaganza, how he wants to spend his summer. And yeah, it's the pretty much what I would expect from children nowadays. He wants to spend all of his time on Steam playing indie games. That one got a thumbs up from me. And he wants to watch Mr. Beast clips. That one got a thumbs down from me. While also watching, I don't know, like Garbo, Logan Paul nonsense. It didn't sound like a very good summer to me, and he forgot that, while he's watching nothing but Mr. Beast clips, he needs his diet of moldy lunchly and slave labor feastables. Yippee, yippee doodle. Oh gosh, I just can't get enough of my yummy, yummy lunchly. Because, I mean, it comes from the guy who's all like, actually, everybody in the world's richer than me because I give away all my money. That's why I made lunchly, a product designed to literally torment children and make their insides curdle and just probably, I don't know, implant them with mind control devices so that they want nothing but feastables every day. So that's what Stan was going through. His parents don't like that very much, so they have the idea of sending him to summer camp. So they pitch this grand idea to reopen the camp, but there's been too many murders, so they decide that they're going to go to the camp and make it murder-proof by, like, getting rid of arrow tips, making the lake covered in plastic, doing things like that, to make sure that there's no possible way that there could ever be any problems at the camp. So we then basically just get a lot of Flute LARPing, just doing an extra amount of LARPing, trying to relive his childhood as a camp member and just basically going around abusing people for a while. He's just casually assaulting women by throwing flaming marshmallows at them, pushing women, doing anything he can to feel like a youngster at a camp, hazing all the newbies by just tormenting people. And I don't know, it's kind of like frat douchebag humor. I don't really care for it very much.
Dance at the end of Conjuring 2 because you're about to get wet. Camp razzing, so fun.
Then we see that Stan's mom, and initially I didn't really know that Stan's mother was raised by bears. I didn't really pay attention that much, I'm not gonna lie. And so when she's taking Stan out into the wilderness to try to get him to not, you know, want to suck off Mr. Beast, this bear shows up and she's like, "Here's your grandmother!" And I had so many questions. I was just baffled because why is grandmother a big old beastie bear? But yeah, it's a bear. He has to hang out with the bear now, so that was a little bit weird. So we cut back to Flute and it's nighttime and they're all hanging around the campfire, just chatting it up, and they're playing Never Have I Ever, and one of the guys is all like, "Never have I ever kissed a dead body." And a bunch of people put their hands down, and that's the joke. Why are they all passionately making out with a dead body? Is there something that I missed?
Never have I ever kissed a dead body.
Okay.
I don't know. And then he's like, guess I need to stop sharing coffee mugs with you guys. Ha, that's a knee slapper right there. Hot dog. Gosh, man, who storyboarded and wrote that? Oh my gosh, was it Amy? Was it Amy Schumer with a combination of Lizzo? Because God, I'm laughing. I'm dying at that. That was hilarious. So then our characters hear some screams out in the wilderness, and they decide that they're gonna do a little bit of an investigation, go and see about that. And there's 2 bodies with their heads chopped off, and I love this one character just immediately sprinting up and checking for a pulse. They're dead. Oh my God, who would have guessed that they're dead with their heads off? That was actually a pretty good joke. I did enjoy that thoroughly.
They're dead.
So then they all start sitting around the campfire, and this once again grotesque woman that I don't understand the animation choice here. I can't tell if she's like 7'5", because her, once again, like her arms extend all the way down to like her ankles, and she just looks evil. And they start talking about how classic slasher films work, right? And clearly, of course, it's going to be the logic of a minority is going to have to go first. It's if you're dark, if you're a little bit dark, you're gonna be the target. And they all look at the black guy in the group, and everybody's thinking that she's gonna say that he's next. But then the elongated woman says that because she's a token Sasquatch, she's going to be the first to go. I don't really get the joke other than the fact that she has really grotesque limbs, but that was kind of odd. So Flute, he then runs into the slasher who apparently used to be a kid that he went to camp with named Stinky, and he was just bullied into oblivion for being stinky. I feel like that's the biggest crime that you could ever have, though. Like, I don't know. Like, if you have access to a shower and you still smell like poop, nobody's gonna be around you. It's just the way that it is. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. The kid at my elementary school who was an outcast, we walked into the bathroom one day and he was passionately making out with himself in the mirror. So you could kind of understand why nobody really wanted to talk to him anymore. I don't know. It's just very conditional on why people wouldn't want to spend time with you, but Stinky became a mass murderer, the camp slasher, so now Flute offers to give him the time of his life and to do all the camp things that he never got to do because he was bullied into oblivion. So they start doing all that stuff, just like shooting arrows, having fun together, digging a hole that's your grave, and then he asks thoroughly enjoyable questions like, have you ever tongue kissed? Yeah, just stuff like that. I don't know. Again, not the best thing I've ever seen, but not the worst thing I've ever seen, so I can only complain so much. So he starts running away from this flute man, and eventually they all end up at this cabin and he's threatening to kill them all. And because Flute has a potato that saves them, they knock him over and take off his mask, and oh god, he's hot! As Squidward tentacles would say upon seeing Stinky with his clothes off. He's got a ripped, shredded body, and he wants him so bad. So Stinky gets away, and that's pretty much the entire episode. There was also a side plot with Stan and the bear grandmother, like, using square blocks and saying it was Minecraft. That didn't really matter. Again, the majority of the B-plots in the show really aren't that interesting and don't really make me want to watch more. This episode kind of sucked. For being the best episode in the series, it had a couple of moments that genuinely did make me chuckle, but the majority of it is just kind of boring. Like, compared to a lot of other shows I've seen, this just really doesn't do anything that great to stand out. It kind of just feels like the bottom of the barrel comedy, so I really wasn't that into it. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I once again would give it a 5 out of 10. It's just average. It's not awful. There's nothing bad about it. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever, aside from like some pacing issues, but other than that, it doesn't do anything amazing either. Just 5 out of 10 once again. Now taking a look at a random episode of Grimsburg, it's going to be the episode How to Lose an Ankle Monitor in Just 10 Days. And I actually like this episode. I thought the inclusion of the side characters ultimately made the episode round out to be a lot better. They're just a lot more charismatic than Flute, for example. I don't like him. I don't like his elongated limbs. I don't like the way he looks, and I don't think he's very funny. But there's this character, Rufus, who is like a mad criminal scientist guy, who I think if they built the show around, it would have been received a lot better and liked a lot better, because he's just such a fun character, and he's included a lot in this episode, and the plotline was ultimately really fun. We have two major plots for this one that focuses on Flute and Rufus becoming criminals, and the other one focusing on Winona and the chief going to see this pop star. And the episode opens with Flute catching this sandal-wearing criminal who ends up becoming merch in a criminal restaurant, and the criminal freaks out, which causes all of the criminals to form a union, to form a strike, and they're not going to do anything dastardly, anything evil in order to get better pay and more respect. It's a very interesting concept, I guess. And so this ends up pausing the entire police department, because if there's no crime, there's nothing they could do. And I really think the show's meta jokes are fucking stupid, especially compared to, like, I don't know, any other Fox show, because they really like to do these trash meta jokes that just aren't that funny. At least they don't do Family Guy cutaways, but dear lord, just watching the chief say, all right guys, we can't be doing any of our jobs, we're on pause, like a teenager watching a Sydney Sweeney movie, that made me cringe. Whoever wrote that, I'm gonna smash their nose in. That was wild. I can't believe that. That was really bad. So we then get to learn a little bit about what Chief does before she became the chief of police. And apparently she was in a pro-virginity band, which is a little bit odd to say the least. And they're singing a song, everything but sex, will do everything but sex, oh but sex.
We can still have everything but sex.
And it kind of sounds like they're doing butt sex, like, you know, anally. Oh! Yep, everybody's getting terrified. And so it turns out that Chief, she was in a duo in that band, she ended up getting pregnant, which means that she had to leave the band, because if we know anything about society, if you're in a pro-virginity band where your entire idea is to sell to very young children to get them to wear, like, purity rings and whatnot, Mickey Mouse is gonna come down on you like, oh boy, I'm gonna give you two options here. There's really only two things you could possibly do to make this right. Get an abortion, or I kill you. That's pretty much what Mickey would say in that type of situation when he really needs all that money. So she ends up not doing that, and she has to leave the band, and that's why she is the way that she is. So Winona suggests that they go and see her former pop star friend and try to rekindle that love and see if she's still doing good or if she turned out to be crazy. At the same time, Flute, he doesn't know what to do, and Rufus needs to get his ankle monitor off, so they end up partnering up and committing crimes to make it look like the crime strike isn't actually happening. So they start doing all these crimes, and they initially start off with stealing from a mailbox, and Flute goes up there, he steals from it, and he grabs the cash out of an envelope, and he's like, I feel like a little kid getting Pokemon cards. Again, a very trash meta joke that also isn't relevant in today's society, because children don't get Pokemon cards anymore. They really don't. Unless you genuinely have a passion for collecting Pokemon cards, you're going to find a 500-pound man waiting at every single Pokemon, card vendor, and he's going to be sitting there sweating, drenched, and he's going to be like, twin theft, step away from my cards. I've been waiting here all day. You don't want me to hurt you. I'm gonna sit on you. Children. Like, Pokemon cards aren't really for kids anymore. They're for people who want to make a lot of money. It's just the way the cookie crumbles around here. So they do that, and then at the same time we see that Chief and Winona meet their pop star friend who has like a handler who is keeping them in charge and says that they need to have a sleepover and they're not allowed to leave. So they immediately think that the pop star girl is in danger, she's being controlled, and they want to try and help her get loose. We then see Rufus just going around committing a bunch of different crimes, and it's a lot of fun. They're having a decent time. They have a conversation, once again, that's just a really stupid amount of meta for me that I don't care about. If you could go back in time, what would you go and see? Oh, I would go and see Oppenheimer before Barbie. Oh, that gave me a real belly laugh. I'm laughing it up at just hearing that. So apparently we find out that the pop star girl is getting drugged. Then they think that it's just to keep her, docile and just keep her stuck there. So they decided they want to help her. So they stop her from eating all of that nonsense. And it turns out that she actually does need to eat that because she's a, psychopathic killer and is going to attempt to kill them. And without the drugs, it awakens the demon. That was a good subversion. I didn't expect that. So she's now trying to murder them. At the same time, Flute and Rufus are having a moment together, to say the least. A moment that I wasn't ready for, that I didn't quite expect, in which Flute just naturally takes off Rufus's ankle monitor. He gets real close and says things like he won't take no for an answer. He just gets real close to him, and then he just goes down on him, kind of like he's gonna be, giving that good old and Rufus starts moaning a little bit, and they made it sound like he was gonna bust it, but then he just takes off his ankle monitor, and I was like, ooh, thank God I didn't just watch an old man scream, right? Thank goodness I didn't have to go through that.
Wait, didn't you have a problem?
But I do have a new one now that I should probably get cleaned up.
Well, then Rufus utters the words, I need to go and clean myself up. Oh, okay then. That's lovely. So we then cut back to Winona and the pop star, and they're using holograms to trick her into thinking she's stabbing them, and they end up just beating her over the head with a piece of glass, and she ends up falling, and that's how they defeat her, and that was great. And then Flute and Rufus end up getting in an argument because they think it was just about the ankle monitor and their love wasn't real. So then Rufus starts leaving town, but he realizes that their love was real because Flute was able to spell scoliosis correctly. Yes, of course, that means romance. Start rubbing your nipples, everybody. Ooh, hot dog. So they start running back, and then they meet up, and Flute is about to commit the ultimate crime, but Rufus stops him, and they're about to defuse a bomb, and Rufus just looks him dead in the eyes. And, it's just been played for laughs that they have a homosexual, love for each other at this point, but they don't actually. It's always supposed to be a subversion. But then Rufus just looks him dead in the eyes and says, I want you.
No hashtag.
I want you.
What?
So, there's really no, going around that there. I don't know what kind of subversion you could have there, but the bomb explodes and everything goes back to normal after that. But that was really funny. That was a good way to end the episode. That's pretty much all there was to it. I found this to be thoroughly enjoyable. I thought all the characters were good in this one. I thought the plot lines were good, subverted my expectations, made me laugh. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give this one a solid 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty gosh dang entertaining. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Grimsburg. Definitely not the worst show that I've ever seen, but it kind of just falls into that category of being mainly mid. That's kind of what a lot of Fox shows are, because I feel like they're not really created with that much passion nowadays. It's kind of just to fill a time slot, and when shows are actually good, they just get canceled after 3 seasons. So they never really get time to breathe and time to shine, time to figure out the characters. It's not all going to be like The Simpsons or Family Guy, where the early seasons are the best. Some shows need to take their time, especially in a sitcom format, to develop the characters and get to figure them out and figure out how to do the comedy well. So this show probably has some decent episodes, probably has some stinkers, but ultimately I just found it to be kind of mid. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. Got lots of good stuff on the way. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.